Welcome to another MotorTown update video. Today we finally got the 0.7.12 update on the test branch, meaning that it's publicly available but your game just won't update on its own. It's still not fully finished yet, so you can play it early, but it's always recommended if you want to do that, back up your save files first, just to be sure, both your character and your world. And yeah, then if you did that, or if you want to play risky, you can just right away go to your Steam library, right click on MotorTown, go down to Properties, Betas, and then select the testing branch, and that's how you get the update. Anyways, let's finally talk about the new stuff here, starting with the additions to the Atlas lineup. We got 3 different semi-trucks to talk about here. Starting with the Atlas Semi 4x2, so 4-wheel semi-truck, rear wheels of course driven, pretty similar to the SRT, a bit longer, but overall, yeah, it can be used for the small trailers as well, and it's pretty amazing at what it does. The next semi right here, this is the 6x4. Keep that in mind, the 6x4 is in the middle. There's another one over here, but that's actually a 6x2 with a lift axle. 6x4 pretty much standard issue in this game right now. Most of the semis that we have are the same configuration. Pretty useful, pretty strong, and yeah, pretty good in general. So another good viable option for most of the jobs. The 6x2 for some reason more expensive. And yeah, the lift axle is actually in the rear. I was kind of hoping for a mid lift, but the rear axle here, despite having double wide wheels, is not driven. You can also kind of see the difference here in the back if you look down below. There's no differential for this one. So yeah, my honest opinion, I think it's pretty good just having one of these in general because they are a thing, and I like that we have the option to use one in game right now. Personally, I'm more about either the 4x2 or the 6x4, so I haven't really used this. It's supposed to likely be a bit more maneuverable if you lift up the rear axle, and then it's basically a 4x2 truck if you need the maneuverability. Otherwise, if you load something heavy, you can switch for a bit more support, just lower the rear wheels and all of that. Pretty cool, but once again, I focused more on these two for the time being doing testing. And yeah, this is not the only new truck in the game. There's also a new dump truck available, and this is another 4-axle truck. Meet the Atlas 8x4 dump truck. This thing is massive. New highest dumping capacity in the game, 17 kiloliters compared to the 10 kiloliters you get from either the dumpy or the dump trailer. So this thing can haul a whole lot, and it's also pretty good off-road. The front 2 axles are steering axles, and the rear 2 are driven, so this thing has a lot of power, gets it down pretty well, and stays quite maneuverable in the process. So this thing is pretty amazing. And yeah, there's a few other things going on in terms of vehicles. I think I got my new trailer over here. This is a flatbed trailer for the shorter style trailers, so actually looks a bit similar to the dump trailer, but yeah, as I mentioned, flatbed. I think that's all pretty much self-explanatory. The rear gate can open, but that's about it. There are no attachments to this. By the way, I should have maybe mentioned this earlier. All the semi-trucks have one utility slot. So you can either get another 100 liters of fuel for your diesel, or you can have an attachment box for your inventory stuff and that kind of thing. These are also supposed to not be sleepers. I would have to double check in here. Let me just spawn my own one. And as per usual, I've been playing this in the private testing before, so yeah, I kind of know what's going on. And I've already spoiled that there's actually something more going on with the semi-trucks in terms of updates. But yeah, right now they have a sleeper function, but from what I heard, it's not supposed to be there, so we'll have to see if it stays in the long run. Anyways, let's get back here because I wanted to show you guys the new attachments for the semi-truck. So if we go to parts, and I think it's in aerodynamic. First up we get the usual front bumpers. So there's 3 different models, either with primary or secondary color. So that's pretty cool, but we also now get roof options. And yeah, these are lowering the drag coefficient for both the cab and the trailer. So these are fully optional, but if you have a large trailer, you may want to add this in order to lower the drag coefficient and potentially go a bit quicker or use less fuel for the speed that you are going at. I haven't done an intensive amount of testing with these, but just from the looks of them, I mean, they are pretty awesome. And yeah, they should be functional, but once again, I didn't test them too much. In the end, due to my PC problems, I wasn't able to do a whole lot of testing. I basically came in for the last week, and this update in particular has been in progress for a very, very long time. There's one new vehicle that we didn't talk about yet, and we'll get to that a bit later in the video, but I want to go into a different topic now, and we'll get back to the last new vehicle a bit further down the line. So yeah, one big thing that I've always been hoping to get is an update to the light attachment system. Some of you may not even know this because it's kind of a niche thing that isn't easy to find, but in certain shops around the world, usually marked as car supply or vehicle supply, you can buy additional lights for your vehicles, and you can just put them onto your vehicle if you want to, and yeah, have it as a bit of decoration, maybe add rally lights or even on tow trucks or garbage trucks, just light up the rear to help you work better at night, that kind of thing. And while this is an amazing system on its own, it's always had a few problems when it came to usability, and that has been taken care of with this update. It's so amazing. We also got a new little light fixture over here, which I'll also check out first time today, so let's see how that works. So here we have one of my vehicles, and I want to put some lights on. So I get the light out, I attach it to the vehicle. Let's maybe put this up as a roof light. I think that might make some amount of sense. And usually it would be fiddling around with this quite a lot in order to try and make it line up and everything. Doesn't really matter anymore because once I attach it, I now get a menu, and I'm also not really in my character anymore. And in this menu, I can switch between all attachments that I have here. This one right now is for only one. And I can fine adjust whatever I want. Let's say I don't want the angle to be like this. I can also rotate it to look forward or maybe even downwards a little bit if I want to. And most importantly, I can move it around. I can put it higher, I can put it lower, and I am not bound anymore by the vehicle collision box with how I attach the stuff. So I can really move it slightly into the vehicle. If I do this maybe bit more sensible when it's also going to actually look good. The thing is, before this update, a lot of the lights used to be floating. They used to be slightly not straight because it was really tough getting the angle right. And all of that is being dealt with right now. So we can put them slightly inside the vehicle so that they are actually optically attached to it. And we always need to save the position before doing anything else. But we can also now more easily go into this menu and just choose which thing we want to assign the light to. For example, in this one, I would like it to go on specifically with the high beams, and that's it. Pointing perfectly straight, being perfectly in the middle, and being attached to the thing that I actually want it to be. So if I turn the lights on, nothing happens. If I now turn on this light, go for the high beams, then yeah, this works now. And it's pretty amazing. So yeah, really happy about this. And it just makes everything so much easier. It gives me peace of mind knowing that the thing is actually straight and centered and everything, and not slightly crooked like how everything was beforehand. Now let's take a look at the new lights. These are obviously marker lights meant more for semi-trucks. That kind of deal, but that doesn't really stop me. So I put on one of them, I can go to the other side, put on the other one. And I can now also switch between them to see if I got them on the same angle and position. If I put this one more backward, then at least they are both on the same side, on the same position, opposite sides. I can now also change the light mode and make this the left turn signal. I can go here and make this the right turn signal. And yeah, now the entire thing is working how it should. I can also go with the emergency lights, in which case both of them light up. They look maybe a bit weird in the reflection on the ground. Actually, let me just make a quick screenshot here. Going to submit that to testing. Yeah, we are doing multitasking today, not only showing off the update, but also getting some bug reports to hopefully make it even better than what it is already. But yeah, this stuff, a game changer when it comes to the light attachments. Loved the system before, but now it's perfect. Give me a few more items to play around with, increase the attachment limit, and we are all good here. Anyways, on to the next thing. We have a few new things going on in the world. Let me start by going to the coal mine, because it got a neighbor. And I'm not only talking about my campy here. First up, the coal mine now has its own parking lot, meaning that you can put a campy up here, you can spawn in your vehicle, you don't have to put it down here at the intersection and then travel up anymore in order to get to the place. Honestly, I liked that you had to go up here. But things have changed. Coal now actually has a use. You need that for another industry, and therefore I think it was about time and a good call to add a parking lot here and let people get here with their campy, spawn in their vehicle and not do half a trip up here anymore. I found it to be a nice part of the experience before, but right now things have changed and this is a sensible adjustment to that in my opinion. But yeah, let's talk about the coal mine's neighbor, which we'll find once we go a bit further down this road. Just going to need to cross both of these bridges. And then we are going to actually see it. And yeah, this is now part of turning this entire thing into its own industry chain, which I think was really just a question of when and not if. This used to be an abandoned mine, but now it's actually usable, and this one produces iron ore. And here, as you can see already, it goes to a new location, the steel mill. And there's actually sub-locations, we are going to visit that in a moment. But yeah, we can now use coal and steel, coal and iron ore, plus also limestone, in order to produce different items. They have separate drop-offs, so we have a separate one for the H-beam production and one for the steel coils. We are going to see all of that in a moment, but let's just take this in. Also, very important, the density of this stuff has huge fluctuations. So if we look down here, for 1 kiloliter, this weighs 2.3 tons. If we go over here, we have 1.9 tons, and if we go down here, it's 1.6 tons. This is basically the lightest that it can be, but from what I've seen, it can be twice as much, so yeah, this can be very, very heavy. The new Atlas dump is also pretty good when it comes to hauling stuff over here. So far, I've only used it to transport the coal, which it is pretty good for. Works like a charm. So you can have 17 kiloliters of coal just hauled at once. It's not really a problem. This one, I'm not too sure about. You can definitely still use the Limusi Semi and the Dumpy for this. But when it comes to the more high density versions of it, it can get very spicy, so you gotta be careful. Just so you know. Also looking at the map here, the route actually starts over here, goes through the entirety of Guangjin, then up to Baiyang, and then back down again, and over here close to the Ara construction site. It's a huge detour, and from what I've seen, you can possibly quite easily take your load down over here through the shortcut, then just go across the plains, or if you are not too sure about taking the shortcut, or even the part of the Guangjin town road over here, you might as well go across here and then take the coastal path. There's actually some pre-made road locations, so it's quite easy to pass here. Alright, enough about this one. Let's go to the next thing. This has been on the Trello for a while now, and I'm happy that we finally got it. This is a coal and iron ore stockpile. So you now have the option to split up your trucking route. You can go directly from either of the mines to the steel mill if you want to. That's a really profitable way of doing things. But maybe you just wanna do the heavy off-roading stuff and let one of your company trucks do the last leg of the journey. In which case you just load for the stockpile over here, do the Guangjin road dance over here, and once you get here you just unload, let your company truck load it up again, or in case of heavy iron ore loads you can also just bring it over here with one of the smaller trucks and then go and do the final delivery with the larger Atlas dump. So this is a nice little option, and I'm really happy to see it. Really not much else going on here. You put the iron ore or the coal in here on the respective pile, and then later down the line you can come back here and get it back out again. So yeah, it's just it's a warehouse for these two dump cargoes. Doesn't seem to do anything else right now. Not that it really needs to. Anyways, let's finally go over to the steel mill. And this is also where we will find the last vehicle for the update. Okay, the steel mill is actually quite the complex area because it's it's doing a lot of stuff already. As I mentioned, in order to get the steel products produced, you need to deliver coal, iron ore, and limestone. Each of them has their own drop-off facility. So we can't even see those ones right now. But over here, I think this is where you can drop off the coal. There's one platform for delivering the coal for the coil production and one for the H-beams. And the one that I was just at, I think, is for the iron ore. And the one over there, that's for limestone. So limestone from the quarry has now gotten another use. You'll have to haul it all the way over from the quarry over here down to Central OG and over to the East Coast. So this is also quite a trip. It's, however, the least used resource right here. So that's quite nice in its own right. Anyways, now on to the last vehicle, the new forklift. First up, you cannot own this. There might be a change to it, but right now it only spawns over here and you cannot really do much else with it apart from loading coils, because this thing doesn't actually have forks. It has this ram in front, which goes perfectly into one of the coils. And by the way, if you want to load them, these are actually only props. You'll need to produce them, and once you do, you can spawn them in and then load them onto your vehicle. So these are the coils right here. They actually weigh 14 tons. Oops, one of the deliveries just refreshed, and right now their main use is to bring them to one of the harbors for export. But you can also use them at the race car factory instead of the small boxes. Since the recent update with supermarkets and them overhauling the warehouses, the small boxes for the Anson race car factory don't really spawn that much anymore. It's become kind of a problem. So instead of using them, we are going to have to bring over those steel coils. I think for gameplay's sake, it's kind of interesting just actually having to produce the stuff that you need at that other factory in order to make the race car. However, it also very much delays the point before you can even buy the thing, because getting enough coal down here, getting enough iron ore, getting the limestone, that's a huge amount of work. And even getting one singular 14-ton heavy coil over to that place, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of hard work. So the race car is going to be much harder to produce. However, at least it's much more reliable to get at this point. And in the patch notes, there's already the warning that the small boxes are going to go away entirely. So at some point, this will be the only way to get the race car. So if you want one, might be a good idea to shoot for it right now. Although I gotta say, it's almost impossible to get the small boxes, so in a way this is a fix for that problem. Just gonna be careful about it. So yeah, we are going to take a look at that in a moment. I'll likely have to sacrifice one coil here for the demonstration because I don't think I'll be delivering it. But anyways, there's really not too much to do here. The thing is, if you looked at the values, it takes a lot of stuff to produce even one singular coil. We need 30 kiloliters of coal. That means even with the new Atlas dump, that's at least 2 deliveries. If you use one of the older vehicles, like the Dumpy or the Jimusi Semi with the dump trailer, that's going to be 3 trips. 20 kiloliters of iron ore, that's also multiple trips, whatever vehicle you use. And 5 limestone is not all that much, but also, yeah, you're going to still need a ton of it if you actually want to do multiple productions. The good thing though is that the mines are not the only source of the stuff. While this is one thing that you can only do yourself, and yeah, here they are. This is still very heavy off-road terrain. If you just want to haul the stuff over, there's also import at Dasa Harbor. We can maybe take a look at that in a moment as well. It has slow production, so you can't just get a fleet of dump trucks and haul the stuff over all the time. There is a limit on how fast it produces, and that's going to limit how fast you can get the stuff right here. But yeah, passive production, just getting 1 or 2 dump trucks to get the stuff from the harbor to this location, possible, viable, and I think in the long run this is how most of the stuff is going to be produced unless they lower the requirements. Because this right now, it's a grind. And yeah, later down the line, there should be more factories that require either the coils or the H-beams, so this might still need some rebalancing. We're gonna have to see about that. This is more my opinion right now, but while it's working already, it's not necessarily where I think it should be. Kind of the same for the H-beams, but at least they are a bit cheaper. So they require 12 kiloliters of coal, 8 kiloliters of iron ore, and 2 kiloliters of limestone. The H-beams weigh 6.3 tons, which is also quite hefty. And from what I remember, they stack up to 4 onto one singular trailer. Let's actually check that again. Let's get a semi-tractor. Let's use this one right here. And in addition to that, I would like to use the flanker wall trailer. So let's see. The ramps into this place are maybe a bit steep, but I hope it's going to be addressed at some point. But yeah, let's see. Okay, this is actually very good to know because there may have been a time where loading the stuff into this particular trailer wasn't even possible. But yeah, these things, they stack up to 4. So this now is 25 tons of weight, so that's yeah, that's quite heavy. But yeah, just so you know, you can load this into either of the flanker trailers. Let's see if I can find a vehicle spawner here. I might also get the other trailer to check that one out. I mean the box trailer. I think there's a spawn over here. I hope it's not just for the... it's only for the Vulcan. Okay. Anyways, right now the H-beams are only for selling them at the harbor, so not much else to do with them. Let's now finally take a look at the coil and how loading that would work. So we spawn one in over here. Let's see, can I actually spawn in multiple ones? Nope, I would need to clear the area beforehand. So now I can go in here and I think it should have the right height by default. Yep. So I can get this thing in here and let me see. Yeah, it's doing something. The whole thing works better if I'm in neutral because once again, like a lot of the Wreckers and that kind of deal, everything is powered by the engine. So this is working a lot better now. I also made a custom... Oh, wait a second. Oh, nice. I actually made a custom key binding for myself here, but I've also suggested the whole thing for controllers in general. So you can actually, if you hold the left button or the left bumper, which is usually the one for secondary actions, and then use the right stick, you can actually control it by through this. So right stick down while holding the left button lowers the fork, going up raises it, pointing to the right puts it forward, pointing to the left puts it backwards, and yeah, this is how you can make the entire thing work. The thing is, you can load the coils on basically any vehicle that has a large enough flatbed. So let's do just that. Get a vehicle with a large enough flatbed here. So, yeah. I mean, why not? The problem with this entire thing, and this has been another big topic of testing, the coils, they are heavy, 14 tons as I mentioned. They are also not the largest ones, so you can theoretically stack a whole lot of them onto a single vehicle, if it's a large one. And usually the vehicles that are reinforced enough to deal with something this heavy, they have capacity for a whole lot of stuff, but you usually don't want to load them up to their fullest. After all, it also takes a lot of time to produce even a single item over here. So yeah, there's a bit of a problem because the vehicles that might have the capacity that gives you enough money, they don't work out too well with how heavy this stuff is. And the ones that can take the weight will reduce your pay by quite a lot because they, well, they kinda need to load a lot of stuff on there to be full. So the scaling has been adjusted to take that into account. And I'm going to see if it's actually going to reduce my payout. I think that's possible. Let's see. I'm really bad with rear steering vehicles, by the way, so apologies if it takes a moment. And yeah, go back in neutral. And lower down the entire thing. Maybe I can even just put it down like this. Doesn't seem to scale down the payment, which is nice, so this might have gotten a nice little adjustment. And yeah, there we go. Nothing wrong about this. Nothing at all. I could even get another one on the front. Now, but let's see. I should also be able to despawn this again. Right now I have 11 in storage, so if I click on this, it goes back in. So that's also a nice feature if you load your coil onto something that doesn't work out. You can also put it back in storage through this function. And here the Vulcan right now is supposed to only be over here. You're not supposed to take it anywhere else. And it also doesn't really go too fast. It has basically the valet mode in there. You could theoretically put it on a flatbed or the Lomax trailer, I mean, but it doesn't really have any other usage outside of this place. But yeah, as mentioned in the patch notes, this is really just the first step into forklifting in this game. I hope there's more to come. I hope we get the option, and I mean option, not mandatory things here, to load pallets at some point. I think that would be really fun. But right now we only have this thing, and I mean it's amazing. I don't want to downplay it. But yeah, this is a single purpose vehicle. Let's be clear about that. Maybe we'll be able to own it one day, but right now this is where it is, what it is, and where to find it. Still pretty amazing looking. But yeah, so much about that. I think that's the major items. I still have a few other things to talk about, but I'll try to make it quick. So let's see. There has been some attempts to optimize server usage or server resources. So the game should be running a bit better on servers, hopefully getting higher server FPS and all of that. There's also testing for new paved road surfaces in OG. I don't know if I can show you guys real quick. I mean, we can go over here and also quickly take a look at the new area for unloading the coal and iron ore. And also the import area, more importantly. Although it's only for coal unloading. I don't think you can export the iron ore at the harbor. It can only go to the steel mill at the end of the day. But yeah, they upgraded this little facility, which is nice. So we still got the ramp and grate in order to unload, but we also get the production facility here for the imported coal and iron. Takes about 4 minutes or something to get something. Maybe even 5 if you don't have any town bonus going on. But yeah, this is how you can slowly get some iron ore and coal if you don't want to do the heavy off-roading stuff. Heavily requested by the tester group because the off-roading isn't everybody's cup of tea, especially if you now need to use it a whole lot in order to get stuff produced to begin with. Okay, let's quickly take a look at the roads because they have been deteriorating a bit. So they are not those spotless, super smooth, perfectly well-kept roads anymore as we used to have them everywhere. These ones are now looking a bit worse for wear, and I think that's a pretty good fit here. So, while generally there are a few cracks in the road, we also have these massive potholes at certain points. And they have a very slight effect on the actual road surface, so you can see the tire slip in if we drive over one. It's not as big as the, or not as noticeable as the ones on the main island or other roads, but yeah, these are far more frequent for a change. See, can I find one up ahead? There we go. I don't know if you notice that you may have to go back a bit. It's really hard to see, but yeah. I tried showing you. I don't know if I did the best job here, but it's really hard to demonstrate. Here we can see it. So yeah, there's a bit of up and down going on when you go through these. So they are not just textures or anything like that. And they are all over the desert part of the island here. Okay, next point. We kinda got to wrap this up at some point. Santa's cabin is now closed, which I'm actually pretty happy about because that thing is completely imbalanced. And Jijo Island has gotten some optical updates, so the vegetation has been taken care of and been made to look quite a bit better, especially around this area. Like this part, it's amazing looking. And yeah, there are a few more changes. I'm going to quickly scroll down here in the text that I prepared. Assigning a truck route now only removes cargo that cannot be delivered with the new route. So if you had one of your company vehicles, maybe you go through the entire food supply chain and you now go to a specific point. Anything that you cannot deliver anymore that's already on the vehicle will just be deleted. But if you can still get some of the stuff to the place that's on the route, then that's still going to stay. There was a weird bug before where it would just delete half of everything for some reason. But yeah, that's being fixed now. Company vehicle tow to the road is now limited to 500 meters. I guess there must have been some exploit. Don't know. Auto-loading cargo is now disabled when there is manually loaded cargo on your vehicle. So if you started manually stacking up stuff, you cannot automatically load anymore, which I think is pretty fair. I'm gonna go off road here because I don't trust that cop. He was aiming straight for me. Yeah, the roof light item is added, as you've seen with my BMW lookalike. Dedicated server max player count is now limited to 100, and that's on the game side. Doesn't really matter how high the server puts its player count, the possible one. Only 100 people can be on the server at one time. Just for performance sake, I mean, I've seen TWL at 90 and it's not going well. So yeah, understandable in my opinion. Maybe if we get a lot more performance upgrades to server performance and that kind of thing, maybe we can go higher at some point. But I think right now at least 100 is very reasonable, especially with how many dedicated servers there are right now. Server admin isn't affected by the player count limit, so even if the server is full, admin can join in order to do whatever they need to. So just because you have 100 non-admin players on there, it doesn't become a lawless land. Server password protection is improved, which is a good thing. There used to be some weird bypass thing, which thankfully has been taken care of. Production, Formula SCM production uses steel coil now as an option. Small box version will be removed with the next update. And you know what, let me show that really quick. I don't want to go into too much detail here because that's kinda, I don't know. There is a bit of opinion stuff from my side when it comes to the whole thing, but yeah, you're going to need to use one steel coil to produce a single car now. And that's going to be the default once the small boxes are going out. Once again, with how I'm set up here, with me still having some old stock in the warehouses, I can easily get the small boxes. The steel coils, it's kind of fun, but it's also not really realistic, if you think about it. 14 tons of steel sheet, how are they going to go into like a 500 kilogram race car? Which shouldn't really be using steel sheet that much to begin with. But I think for gameplay's sake, it's kind of interesting. The chat icon now has the game tag or the name. No. A chat icon is added to the name tag when somebody has the chat open. So if I'm trying to type anything, anybody else on the server or in the session is going to see a chat icon right next to my name. Maybe I should suggest they also add one for being in autopilot, because I think that might be more useful once you come across somebody. Headlights now have a soft turn on and off effect, which is a real nice optical touch. So if I get this car and turn on the headlights, you're going to see the fade. And I think this is just a nice little bit of immersion. Looks really nice and neat and all of that. Mirror curvature setting added in the control panel. I haven't really bothered with that, but let's do so. I think this is going to be basically field of view. Yeah, pretty much looks like that. All these little settings the game has, it's amazing. Tire wear penalty by overweight is increased. So yeah, that didn't really do too much in the past after it was introduced. I think the dev was maybe a bit scared of messing up people's stuff. But now with the current update, it has been changed a little bit. And let me tell you, from my own testing, I find it really hard to overload the truck to the point where it goes over the tire weight. Axle weight, gross vehicle weight, that's easy to get over once you get to the right cargo. But going above what you can transport using the heavy duty vehicle tires, like the double wide tires with the added tonnage, not easy. Like, you really need to go with something heavy to make that happen. And at that point, I think it's fair enough that at some point they might just pop on you. Who knows? But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys today. Well, it's been a long one. I'm kinda getting winded, so I'm going to end this video right here and say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, or at least found it useful. And until next time, thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on the video and also the update itself. Until then, have a good one, and bye bye.